would probably have a good time. Wind up using their powers for a bunch of things that nobody ever really thought about before, so we'll have to see. I think that's probably just, I'm only seeing that because I've been watching the Avengers on Netflix, the animated series of the Avengers on Netflix, because it was actually pretty cool. I've been actually figuring out what everybody's actual superpower is on the show, which is like, okay, for example, the Wasp, where she could shrink down and fly and shoot stingers at people and so on. Her actual superpower is not shrinking, flying, and shooting the yellow beams of light at people. Her actual superpower is, I am just annoying enough that you cannot ignore me, no matter what. No matter how mighty you are, I am just annoying enough that you can't not pay attention to me. That's my job, and that's my superpower in the story. And the others are like that as well. We can talk about that later, maybe. Over here at Reed.
I was just wondering, you put Harry Dresden through so much, and you suffered so much. After changes, where can you possibly go from there?
I put Harry Dresden through so much, and he suffered through so much. And after changes, where could I possibly go from there? You haven't read the new one yet, have you? You get to the end of the new one, that'll give you an idea. And then we'll see what happens after this. I just finally got the first sentence of the next book written, which is always the hardest part, is getting the first sentence written. After that, everything's easy. But you know, I finally have to put the first sentence of book 14 written. It's like, okay, and that actually that encapsulates the whole deal. We'll have a good time playing that now. So here.
Do you figure out the end of your story before you start writing the beginning?
Do I figure out the end of the story before I start writing the beginning? When I'm smart. When I'm smart, I do exactly that. When I'm not smart, I sort of wonder what's going to happen. Normally, I know what the end is going to be. I usually know like a big, flashy, high special effects budget scene that's going to be in the middle. I know about half a dozen one-liners that I want to use, and or small bit scenes that I want to use, and then that's enough for me to get started. I did not do as much pre-planning on Ghost Story, partly because I wanted it to have more of a nebulous feel to it. I wanted the story to have something that seemed kind of to be kind of mistier around the edges than a normal Dresden Files story would be, because that was sort of the setting that we're in, and partly because I was an idiot and just didn't get it done. And maybe next time I'll remember to shut up and listen to my writing teacher and write my outline before I start a story. You would think I would get that by now, but right here in the hat. Did Dresden lose domain over Demon Reach when he died? Have you got the end of the book? Okay. You read a book. I've already answered that one. In white.
I'm scared to hear the answer, but I've got to know. Marvel or DC?
Scared to okay, do Marvel or DC? And the answer to that one is Marvel, and here's why. I've never been a Superman fan. I never liked that guy. Okay. Now that said, and that said, I've been more impressed with how they've handled Supes lately, because it seems like they finally understand, oh wait a minute, not everybody likes Captain Perfect flying around over there. Did you ever see the Marvel DC crossover of the Superman Spider-Man team up? Where, the bad guys blow up, Superman and Spider-Man wind up teamed up together, which makes sense because, Peter Parker's a photographer and Clark Kent's a reporter. Okay. And the bad guys blow up some kind of computer, and Spider-Man's like, oh man, they blew up the computer, we're going to have to do all kinds of legwork now to try and figure out what it's... And Superman, before Spider-Man is done with the sentence, reassembles the computer that's been blasted to tiny pieces, puts it back together, and then starts accessing the information on it. And Spider-Man actually looks at the computer, looks at Superman, and then says, why am I here? That's actually written into the book, and I just have to admire the Spider-Man writers who were handling that. That was really interesting that they were able to pick up on that at the time. Actually, DC sent me an email and they said, hey, would you like to do a guest stint on Batman or Superman? Because we would love to have you. And I said, you know, that would be fantastic, but I don't know their story well enough for the people who love them. I mean, I could show up and just sort of write a thing, but that wouldn't be the same thing as somebody who loves the story showing up to play with it, so I wouldn't do that. Spider-Man, though, yeah. Yeah, this one more day stuff. Nah, then we can do better than that for Spider-Man. Come on. Young man right here. How many books do I plan on writing? The Dresden Files will be about 20-ish of the case books we've had so far. It could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less, you know, depending on when the kid goes to graduate school. And then we'll have a big old apocalyptic trilogy at the end to kind of cap it all off. Because who doesn't love apocalyptic trilogies? It's my sister's fault. The first movie I remember being taken to see was Star Wars. And yeah. So, you know, blame them, it's not me. Right here, black t-shirt.
In another interview, you said that there were more short stories coming. How are those coming along? Yeah.
Okay, are there more short stories coming? Yes, there are. Right now, I'm about 2/3 of the way done with the second of the Bigfoot trilogy short stories, which I'm having fun writing. Bigfoot's the client. He comes to Harry, he's got some problems with his kid, he can't exactly wander into town and help, so Dresden gets hired and is on the job. So the first one's called B is for Bigfoot, and the kid's in grade school. And the next one is I was a teenage Bigfoot when the kid's in high school, and then Bigfoot on campus when he's in college. So. We'll do those, and then we'll do several other short stories, and the one that actually didn't make it into the anthology, Curses, will be in there, and then any others that I write, because I still owe some people short stories. I've got to stop writing these things, man. They're so hard. Writing a short story, you have to do everything in a short story that you do in a novel, except you got to do it in like this much space. It's like trying to have a 95 phone booth. Over here in the striped shirt. I decided on a title for the next book. Book 14 is going to be titled Cold Days, which will make more sense after you've read book 13. In blue.
Where does Curses fit in the timeline?
Where does Curses fit in the time work? I'll have to find it. I think it's between Deadbeat and Proven Guilty. Is where that one falls. I'll have to go check my notes to be sure, though. I can never keep this stuff straight. I'll go check on Wikipedia and seriously, you guys keep much better track of this than I possibly could. Because by the time you read it, you've just got that one version of the book to be read. Whereas for me, I've got like 11 slightly different versions that very strongly resemble your one version that are all the different drafts that I write. And then I've got all the versions that could have been that I decided not to use for one reason or another in my head. And it gets hard to keep them straight after a while. You know, we're 13 books in. I've got a couple of hundred slightly different Dresden Files in my head. It's hard to keep mentally highlighted which one is the canon. Which is why I go to Wikipedia. For crying out loud. If I didn't have that, I don't know what I'd do. How many children do Michael and Charity have again? Hang on. Oh, right, okay. Wait, what color were the different panels of Harry's car again? Okay.